All right, everybody, happy Monday and good evening. And we begin the readout tonight with what should sound like a familiar story. 12 years ago, in 2010, the pro-Western, pro-reform government of Ukraine was narrowly defeated at the ballot box, ousted by a Kremlin-backed gangster who vowed to never allow his country to join the ranks of NATO. That man was Viktor Yanukovych, a low-key criminal and failed politician who was pushed to power by wealthy oligarchs, Vladimir Putin, and an American political consultant who we've come to know all too well, Paul Manafort. Now, it didn't matter that Yanukovych's party was a haven for mobsters. The key was to replace the pro-Western government in Kyiv with a pro-Kremlin puppet. And Manafort was happy to oblige for a tidy fee. Needless to say, the government under Yanukovych entered a downward spiral of thuggery, corruption, and crackdowns. And Yanukovych's political opponent, Yulia Tymoshenko, well, she was literally locked up after her defeat. It's normal practice, Yanukovych told Time magazine in reference to his jailing of the opposition leader. The party is powerful. The voters support it. When Western countries objected to her arrest, Manafort hired lobbyists in Washington to spin her imprisonment as an example of Ukraine's commitment to the rule of law. As Tymoshenko's daughter explained, their job is to say that white is black and black is white. Now, Manafort's apprentice, Donald Trump, whom he also helped to elect in 2016 with Russia's backing, is acting a lot like that Ukrainian strongman. And he's emerged from his MAGA cocoon as a fully formed authoritarian butterfly. Trump is not only endorsing the thuggery of January 6th, he is now promising to reward the insurrectionists for the violence they committed in his name. Speaking at a rally in Texas this weekend, Trump said that if he retakes the White House in 2024, he may offer them presidential pardons.
Another thing we'll do, and so many people have been asking me about it, if I run and if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. We will treat them fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
Behind the scenes, Trump is also planning a massive cover-up of his role in inciting the violence that day, seeking to bolster the baseless conspiracy theory that the FBI did it. According to the Daily Beast, Trump has privately told GOP lawmakers, congressional candidates, and operatives in recent months that Republicans on Capitol Hill should be prepared to launch a full-blown investigation to get to the bottom of how FBI agents supposedly caused violence and mayhem on January 6th. At the same time, Trump is mobilizing his MAGA cult against the law enforcement entities that could stand in the way of another run for president. Here's how he lashed out at New York's Attorney General, Manhattan's District Attorney, and the DA of Fulton County, Georgia, all of whom are investigating him and all of whom happen to be black.
These prosecutors are vicious, horrible people. They're racists, and they're very sick. They're mentally sick. They're going after me without any protection of my rights by the Supreme Court or most other courts. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you.
Most ominously, Trump summoned his supporters, much like he did before January 6th, to take to the streets in a massive show of force if he's prosecuted.
If these radical, vicious, racist prosecutors do anything wrong or illegal, I hope we are going to have in this country the biggest protest we have ever had in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Atlanta and elsewhere, because our country and our elections are corrupt.
Separately, Trump also signaled last night that he is no longer even willing to pay lip service to Democratic elections. He's now attacking the Republican lawmakers who are seeking to reform the Electoral Count Act of 1887, so there's zero ambiguity about the vice president's power, or lack thereof, when it comes to certifying the votes of the Electoral College. But that's not what Donald Trump wants his followers to believe. He is claiming that efforts to reform the law, which, by the way, are no substitute for federal reforms that reverse these Republican state attacks on the right to vote, that this change to the law is just validation, that Mike Pence did have the right to change the outcome, and that lawmakers are now trying to take that right away. And he whined that Pence could have overturned the election. It actually marks the first time that Trump has dropped his cover story of massive voter fraud and explicitly stated that his goal was indeed to overturn the election that he lost.